rug in the back of my car.
All right. Well, good afternoon. I'll call this meeting to order. And Ms. Thomas, would you do roll call, please?
Mayor Walker,
Present.
Vice Mayor McGill,
Yes.
Councillor Hill,
Here.
Councillor Payne,
Here.
Councillor Snook,
Here.
We're all present. And thank you all for coming on short notice. We are trying to just maximize the opportunity that we have with the crew being in town and taking care of just the legal issue of being able to move the statue on Main Street too. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowles to explain, and then we'll try to get out of here shortly.
If we could have first
A motion, okay. All right, councilors, we need a motion to consent to have this meeting upon less than 5 hour notice.
So moved.
second.
Right? Ms. Thomas?
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGill,
Yes.
Councillor Hill,
Yes.
Councillor Payne,
Yes.
Councillor Snook,
Yes.
Right? Now I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Boyles.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. Mayor and Council, thank you for agreeing to this special call meeting today to address an urgent need that was not planned for, but unforeseen opportunities have created for the city. The approved relocation of the bronze figures of the Lee and Jackson statues that have been removed and have been removed in record time. The tremendous work by the city staff, the construction crews, and by our community support have given the city an opportunity to finalize an interest that was provided by council on November 15th of 2019, and then funded by council on July 7th of 2021. Council has been clear in their interest to relocate the Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark statue from West Main Street to another location that's either owned or co-owned by the city. We have that opportunity if we're able to act today on that with no additional funding required. We ask you to hold a special meeting today. You've waived the procedural requirement, and we ask your permission now to contract with the contractor who is in town to then relocate the Sacagawea statue to one of two locations, one owned by the city and one co-owned by the city. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I believe that we also have some other potential guest speakers.
All right, thank you. So councilors, for the next part, I know that there was interest. And so as Mr. Boyle said, there's one of two locations. I think Ms. Searles is here and would like to just make a case for possibly the Lewis and Clark Center. Is that everyone okay with that? All right, we'll turn it over to you.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for contacting me today. So it would be my hope to eventually, if you decided to give us ownership of the statue, to actually have provisions agreed to first about the type of interpretation, because under my leadership, interpretation agreed with the Native Americans of Virginia and with the Shoshone is highly important. And I would want to ensure that for the future, regardless of whether I'm there or not. So our hopes is to involve the Native American Student Alliance at UVA and to have interpreters from their group and from other groups, and really have a buy-in from many different people. The Shoshone, the way that they would like the statue to be interpreted is of paramount importance. We hosted them and the UVA Student Alliance when they were here last time. And one thing that struck Dustina, who was here, is the need for people to realize that Indigenous women are going missing on to an alarming extent, that faces and people are disappearing. And so one of the things that the statute in a way interprets is moving beyond sort of the white person fixation on Sacagawea and the way they contextualize there to a larger view of people who are living today and how they are represented. So these kinds of issues are of vital importance, and the Shoshone wanted to be able to do artwork that accompanied the statue to express these kinds of issues, which I think is important to bring interpretation forward and into a better place. I didn't prepare comments today, so I'm pleased if I'm not making sense.
No, thank you. And we know it's all last minute, so we appreciate it. And I will say that I was able to contact Rose Abrahamson, and she is on the line listening, and will provide some feedback if, if there are other questions from counselors too about that. But no, thank you for that. Counselors, are there any questions? And can we give Ms. Abrahamson a time to just briefly talk and then ask any questions? Rose, are you there? Hello?
Her mic is now on. Go ahead, Rose. We can't hear you if you're talking.
Are you speaking? We can't hear you. Okay. So counselors, while we figure that out, if you want to ask your questions.
I just want to be clear on like what steps we can take to ensure that we're not, if there is support for us going directly to the Lewis and Clark receiving this, and that we're not going to have to take 2 steps in this process. How can we be as efficient as possible in what needs to be done today?
I believe what would be, if ultimate ownership is then deeded to Lewis and Clark, clearly the most efficient way would be to store the statue there immediately. And then it would come back to council for the final ownership of that statue. So it's really kind of storing the statue one of 2 places. Today would not give ownership to Lewis and Clark. It would simply be to store the statue on property that's co-owned with the city and with Albemarle County. I've been in contact with Albemarle County. Their board has sent support previously of moving the statue there when final disposition is contemplated. So and we have reached out today as well, but haven't been able to get in touch with their administration. So that would be it. It would have to come back to council where you would then decide the final ownership. The worst case scenario, I would say for Lewis and Clark Center would be that if ownership were to go to someone else, we would just have to transfer the statue from that property to wherever it would end up, which would be the same thing if it were stored in one of the other city locations.
And
Can I add, I'm sorry, but Ann Malik from the county just texted me that she's alerted the county to this possibility of the move and is willing to meet us in the parking lot.
All right, I think we can try with Ms. Abrahamson again.
She is on, Mayor, and I've asked her to unmute.
Okay. All right, counselors, while again, we're still trying to figure that out, any questions from other counselors?
No, like the only question for me was basically the same. What do we need to do to ensure that the recontextualization is driven by and fully includes, Indigenous residents and the Indigenous community? That's really the only question mark to me.
And since you hosted them while they were visiting, they will definitely be included in these discussions. Go ahead.
Yes, when Andrea Douglas and Jelaine and Siri and I were writing the grant for the Mellon Foundation, they were included in the write-up plans, and I reached out to Destina about it, and she was enthusiastic.
Okay. And in terms of the terms of the agreement, are you all looking at, Lisa, is it what, the 99 years as long as we can do a contract term, but will you ensure that once, even if you are no longer there, that it's the same for any executive director for the foreseeable future, as long as it's legally allowable?
That would be my hope. I would never want to see it misused and taking us back.
Okay.
Right now, we're not even at that point. There's going to be more formal agreements in place.
Yes, I just want to,
Yeah.
those were just some of the questions I had
Yeah.
based on the story.
I was just mentioning for the public that right now we're just talking about conveyance for this next step. We're not solving all of it right now.
And we're not talking about a conveyance within the legal sense. We're talking about simply the act of moving and the act of storing in the interim. The only point that I would want to make is, although I am all in favor of the recontextualization efforts that Ms. Searles has referred to, I think that we in the city need to be careful that we not end up putting ourselves in the position of judging whether that recontextualization is adequate, because that gets us into First Amendment territory. I think it is probably preferable that we acknowledge the basic trust that we have in the Lewis and Clark Exploratory Center management. And if there's a way to without getting us too much into content, if there's a way to limit or in some way how it all gets done, that's fine. I just don't want us to be in the situation of saying, oh no, that recontextualization is not appropriate. We on City Council are going to second guess your historical judgment, blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to be in that First Amendment, very dangerous territory.
And let's try Rose once more. Rose, are you there? Okay. Vice Mayor McGill, did you have?
My concerns are more, seem to be being addressed. One, that the indigenous tribes are involved and their voice is being heard and listened to. And that appears to be of prime importance to Ms. Searles and others. So I'm feeling very comfortable there.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Wheeler, before we move on, I just want to make sure that Rose, that she still can't get on, because I saw something else pop up before.
I did see a video only link join as a panelist, Mayor Walker, but it didn't have any audio capability, and the phone does not seem to be responding.
Okay. All right. And I know we had time constraints here with some of the counselors. So Ms. Abrahamson, Ms. Searles will be in touch, and you all will get to have a deeper conversation, and you can join us when we have the deeper conversation as a council too. And thank you for attempting to join us today. All right, so counselors, is there, let me pull back up.
So what is the motion we're seeking? I'm sorry.
It's to adopt a resolution to, Mr. Boyles, did you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. You are making your motion, which sounds like the preferring a movement of storage at the Lewis and Clark Center. You could also, though, as an alternate, allow us to relocate statue to an existing city property should the contractor not be able to move it there.
Oh.
I don't want to
Okay.
be specific and then have the contractor say, oh, there's a limitation, and then we would be constricted.
Okay, so we can say either, okay.
The resolution that you all should have received by email prior to the meeting just specifies that the storage will be at either a city-owned or a city co-owned location. So the city co-owned location would be Charlottesville Park. If it can't be that for some technical reason, it would be at a city-owned
Location.
Yes. So you all, the land owners of the statue will be stored at a location in which you have some ownership interest.
Okay, so is there a motion to adopt a resolution to remove the statue sculpture depicting Sacagawea, Meriwether Lewis, and William Clark for storage at a city-owned location or a co-owned location with Albemarle County?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Lisa, we're good to go? Okay. All right, Ms. Thomas?
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGill,
Yes.
Counselor Hill,
Yes.
Counselor Payne,
Yes.
Counselor Smith.
Yes.
Okay, and before we just take any, if there are public comments, I see that Rose has joined again. Rose, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, this is wonderful. Mayor, councilors, city, I'd like to say that we have come a long ways. We have come a long ways to become the human tribe that we should be, and come together in unity, and come together to educate our young and our future generations. And I listened to what was presented, and I would say that that is an excellent idea. I understand that one of the youth from Virginia expressed himself at the time, and he said, with these types of images, there are issues at hand today in our modern times. And that with this statue and its depiction, and being in a location where it's not offensive, but yet in a location where it can educate the public to the missing, murdered Indigenous women, the plight of women in our society, the Native women. I listened to, I believe that the young people that came with me also have a perspective, and I think it's important that they are listened to as well. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a very offensive statue. And not only did it delineate me as a Native American, it delineated our women and their role in society. And I think it's now that we need to present the statue in itself, or put it in a place In my personal opinion, I feel that it should just be melted down. That's my opinion. I feel that it's entirely offensive and it should be obliterated. But if it can be utilized to give a message, to give a greater message, to educate the public, that would be an opportunity. So I'm very pleased with what is taking place. And it's been a long road. And I'm glad we are addressing it now.
And thank you. And thank you for
Yes.
taking the time to join us today. And
Yes, yes, Mayor, and I would like to say that I was very honored to be there. I was very honored to have our voice be heard as her familial descendants, and her role was delineated by this imagery, and the strength of our women were delineated by this imagery. Today, Willow, who was a participant, is now dancing in a sun dance and is fasting for 4 days and nights in 101-degree weather and praying for the people and praying for the world. So our women do have strength. Women throughout the world have strength. And I think it's important that as we consider, as we move forward, we always keep that in mind.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Willer, would you check and see if there's any public comment?
Thank you, Mayor Walker. We have 14 people in the audience, most of which are members of the local media. If you would like to make a comment, you can have up to 3 minutes to address council. Please click the raise hand icon in the Zoom webinar.
Okay.
And I don't see any hands raised, Mayor Walker.
All right. So thank you all for coming together on short notice. And Mr. Boyles, you have what you need?
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Mayor, and all of council.
And thank you to staff for all the tremendous effort this week and through this weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Meeting
you.
adjourned.